Is Ivanka making funeral plans for the felon? Is Kash Patel out as FBI director? Let's look into all of that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos. Your comments, your likes, your shares, and watching the videos all the way to the end is what makes this channel grow. So thank you, thank you, thank you for doing all of those things. I am starting up my fall tarot reading class, and this follows the way I was taught how to read tarot when I was young, some 25, maybe even a little bit longer years ago. So I follow that method. It's not like a by the book method. It's kind of a by Trevor's method, the way I was taught. So I do think you'll find it different than other tarot reading type classes. So if you sign up before September 20th, you'll get $15 off uh, the first month. And don't forget, also, there's the Soul Community, the YouTube membership for $4.99 a month. Both these can be canceled at any time, by the way. The Patreon, if you sign up for the tarot class, you get 4 classes right away to watch and some videos about me just telling stories about kind of how I, answering people's questions and throwing little anecdotes and about myself. So, you get access to all of that at the very beginning. So if you find you don't like it, you can just cancel after the first month. So would love to have you part of that group. Probably going to close the class on October 1st. So probably no new additions at that point. And like I said, the $15 off ends on September 20th. So, um, okay. So Ivanka making funeral plans for the felon. Now, when I got images of this, they were pretty much kind of in her head, like she's just thinking about it, daydreaming about it, trying to figure out what's the right way to do it. I don't know that she's been tasked with that goal. I just got images of her doing that. I also see Kash Patel being out as FBI director. I'm not sure on the timeline of that. I don't think it goes much into the spring, so I think it's fairly soon. Um, I also got images of Don Jr. going on what I guess one person would call a bender, and I think there's some. I think that becomes public knowledge, and this I believe happens after the felon's passing. Uh, I am worried about a mass shooting from some right-wing nut jobs, so probably shouldn't use the word nut job. Mental health is serious. If you're having problems, certainly get help. Um, but we'll take a look at that, and I'll share more details as we get to that one. And then I also, when I was scrying this morning, got an image of Pope Leo, and it appeared that I heard the words. Well, I guess I heard the words. You know, Vance isn't a Christian. And I believe they're said to the public. So let's take a look at that as well. Okay, so let's start with Kash Patel. So I did another reading on my other YouTube channel, which is a little bit less political, actually a lot less political. Um, but I just did a reading about the solar eclipse on the 21st and how I think it'll affect a few world leaders. One of them was Kash Patel, the other being the three notable Putin, Netanyahu, the felon, and then the last one being the Prime Minister of the UK, who I think is going to have a pretty rough go of it. So, uh, okay, so let's start with Kash Patel being out as FBI director. I think this is already in the plans. Um, I think people below him have stopped listening to him. I think he's already de facto not the FBI director. Um, He's just the public facing voice of the FBI. I don't think he's actually being listened to. And I think they've gone down the chain of command so much that they're just not going to fire anybody more. So I think he's kind of been told to, because of the lawsuits for the ones that he did fire, to just deal with it. So let's see, what do we need to know about Kash Patel being out as FBI director? Definitely going to go down as one of the more incompetent FBI directors. Um, yeah, he's teetering, right? I mean, the Wheel of Fortune, he might go, he might stay. I think he goes. The question is just when. His position is very tenuous. The felon's not happy with him. Uh, I think certainly Vance will fire him at some point, maybe not right away, because there's got to be room for other news to happen when the felon goes. But it does feel like this is the case. The Democrats will certainly be supportive of this. Why wouldn't they? Uh, he, he's done some things that were illegal for entertainment purposes only. I don't think he'll be prosecuted or anything. This is just a tarot reading. I could be right, I could be wrong, but I think he's done a few things that probably aren't by the book. I don't think these are super major things. Um, but inside the agency, he's basically lost the trust of everybody. Yeah, it's going to be the end of the cycle death. This might also come when the felon passes, like I said earlier. I don't see him being FBI director past March of 26. I don't know why that's the timeline, but that's the timeline I'm feeling. It's kind of like there has to be room for the felon to take center stage when he's in his box, and then we probably get through the holidays, and then it happens. Um, I think he's already in a very defensive posture here with the Seven of Wands, and yeah, we get Temperance. The person coming in will be a little bit more amenable. I don't think this person will be great. It used to be that nobody even knew who the FBI director was, right? I mean, how many FBI directors can you name? I can name a few, but I don't think most people can. Something shifted, something's happened. I think the Kirk assassination, there'll be some discovery there of some mishandling of information that was received that wasn't handled correctly. And while I don't know that Kash Patel's to blame for that directly, he'll take the proverbial jab, I guess. Yeah, it has to do with giving and receiving of information and it not being handled correctly with the Six of Pentacles. And, the FBI is going to be happy when he's gone. Nobody likes him. That's just the way it is. So his position's quite tenuous. He's very defensive, and people will celebrate when he's gone. Something has happened. No, I I don't think it's just the Kirk thing. I think it's also the FBI agents that are suing for their being fired. That's put him on defense, and he's done something that was not up to snuff. So, and I think that was the firings, but I think there's a couple other things too. I think this probably doesn't happen until after the felon's death, and this also will end a kind of a dark chapter of the FBI being complicit, I guess, with the executive branch. I do feel like the next guy coming in isn't quite that, even though he might promise he is. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Um, Democrats will certainly be supportive of Patel leaving, and it'll bring around a little bit more moderation. I think it does have something to do with either money or getting information and not handling it properly, something along those lines. Uh, yeah, the completion, the end of the cycle, the world card. So I feel pretty confident this is what's going to go down. It could be soon. It could be, March of 26. I don't think it's much longer than that. Wouldn't surprise me if it's a lot sooner, though. Uh, is the felon the one that fires him? It's possible. It wouldn't surprise me. He's not doing very well in this role. Okay, let's just take a quick peek at, do we need to be worried about a mass shooting event? You know, I think we always need to be worried about a mass shooting event in the United States. I don't know how many school shootings there have been this year so far. It's already in the double digits, if not approaching the high double digits. It's almost like they don't even make the news anymore. Uh, this I don't think is a school shooting. I think this is more of a um, let's just call it a mass shooting. I'm not sure it happens, but I've seen some images that suggest that something like this could take place around the holiday shopping season. Use your own intuition on these things. I'm certainly not trying to scare anyone. Um, and there's no guarantee that I'm right, so don't. Um, if I get something really specific and I feel really strongly about it, I would say where and when, but I don't get that. I just get kind of the holiday shopping season. Um, I don't think it's very successful, by the way. So that's good, but it'll turn out to be somebody that's kind of like a supporter of Charlie Kirk, um, in that vein as a retaliation, which is exactly as it sounds, rather stupid and unhelpful. We need to be worried about this. Uh, we are definitely at a tenuous situation here. Um, Certain people are really fired up. Most people aren't, by the way, just certain. Um, the media certainly over exaggerates this. It's sad that it happened, but and how many people die every day from gun violence in this country? It's a lot. Do we need to be worried about this? I think so. Just gonna set that aside. That's the Knight of Wands. Fiery messages coming forward. This is kind of, to me, similar to the idea of it feels kind of like gunfire, if that makes sense. Hmm. Well, I think this is probably true. I mean, I think we're probably delusional to think that it's not going to happen. It's probably more likely to happen than not, regardless of my intuition. Um, I think people have people are already kind of on alert. I noticed this a little bit earlier when I went grocery shopping, which I've started going back into the store and not doing the pickup. mostly because I didn't schedule the pickup in time to get the stuff I wanted. But um, people seemed a little edgy. Now this could just be the eclipse energy too, but uh, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the tower card here, it kind of indicates that there'll be some sort of manifesto that goes along with it. The King of, or the Knight of Cups, uh, the Empress at the center of the reading. It'll be done in the name of trying to preserve family values, which is unbelievably not only disgusting, but um, the person won't understand like how stupid that is. Uh, it'll be a place where both old and young are at. It'll be meant to send a message. Do you think we get justice in the environment around? That's going to be the part of the manifestos. This is about justice. But I also think there's justice in the environment around, meaning that I don't think that this is, anything on the scale of what it could be for some reason. And I think this person will have been somebody that was probably um, uh, in the military. That's what I feel. Okay. So I think we're delusional to think that it won't happen. I think it'll be done in the name of keeping the population safe from this and totally made up boogeyman of, the LGBTQIA plus community and probably somebody in the military. That's what it feels like. It'll be meant to send a message again, but it's not going to work. I mean, nobody buy like some people buy that nonsense, but the majority of people don't. They just don't. It's just the way it is. Now, if you were to listen to the news, you would think everyone in the world is, anti-LGBTQ. Uh, but that's really not the case. I mean, maybe 40% are. It's definitely a minority at this point. That's why they're so loud because they're a minority. Um, again, this is, in the name of something sacred, or so they think. That's the perversity of it. It'll be sent to send a message to kind of get even, to balance the scales, so to speak, revenge. It'll probably happen at a place like where there'll be young people and old people, like a shopping center, something along those lines. Just keep your ears and eyes open. Keep your intuition going. If you feel like you shouldn't go someplace, don't. Um, you'll be fine. Um, yeah, it's gonna fall on deaf ears. We can expect this erratic type behavior. Um, but I think the good news is that this is probably the only one. I'm hoping. So we shall see. This feels around a shopping center around the holidays. So here shortly was that time period. Um, somebody in the military, most likely a man, but I guess I don't really have definitive one way or another on that one. Okay, let's turn to Pope Leo telling JD Vance he's not a Christian. Not directly to his face, but just in passing, speaking and mentioning that, people that hold this views like Vance can't be considered Christian or wouldn't be eligible for communion or something along those lines is what it sounded like. Definitely, definitely a big admonishment by the Pope. The Hierophant in the water, which of course is the symbol for the Pope, or the card for the Pope if there was a card. The Eight of Wands. I think we can expect the Pope to continue to speak out. Whether it'll get news coverage or not, it's happening. He spoke out against the felon, just like I said it would happen. Um, because I think deep down, the truth of the matter is, you know, the Pope is a, a pretty empathetic guy. He just is. Um, Very similar to Pope Francis, like I thought the new Pope would be at the time. Uh, I think he feels things pretty deeply. He's certainly not perfect. Um, but I think he finds this what's going on in the United States quite an affront to Christianity. We get the Empress in the upper right here. Deceit, deception, dishonesty. I think that's how he'll view Vance. It's like the real meaning of the third commandment, right? I think it's the third one, right? Don't take the Lord's name in vain. Because it doesn't mean nothing to say, you know, gee, damn it. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means don't speak for God, right? At least that's the way I understood it. Um, which is exactly what the Republicans do. They speak as if they're God and they know what God wants. So I think the Pope calls that out. The Three of Pentacles, circles of support. I think uh, I think the Pope will be echoed by some of the bishops here in the U.S. Not all our cardinals and bishops, but not all of them. Of course, there are, you know, definitely bad people inside of the church. There are. We get the Moon card. There's a lot of volatility around this situation for sure. Um, and we get the Magician as well. There's like Vance is gonna say something that just like tees it up to where it's like a no-brainer to call it out. Very similar to the felon. Um, except for Vance, I don't think Vance means anything he says. So I'm still having a hard time with getting around it. Here's the Hierophant I was seeing in the water. Um, so, and then the Page of Pentacles messages being sent. So I think the Pope will be quick to respond. I think he'll have backup. I think there'll be cardinals and stuff that back him up when he speaks out against Vance, and that's the message that's being sent. I think they'll not only speak out against Vance, I think they'll do it quite quickly and astutely. And again, I think there's support, and I think they'll phrase it in a way that's very nurturing and in the idea of selling Christianity to the masses, not rather than, making everybody feel like they're horrible people that's going to hell, which is kind of what Republicans do. I think this is genuinely because the Pope is heartbroken over the state of affairs, of the corruption and the deception, and in particular, the misuse of um, the idea of one shouldn't speak as if they are God. And I think the situation is pretty volatile. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a back and forth exchange. Um, and so this will be a big moment. It'll be, a new beginning. And it kind of makes people think, the Seven of Cups. So I think this is good. I think this is actually a really good development. Okay, the last two things I want to read on Don Jr. I see him. I'm not sure if, obviously it's a tarot reading. I could be right, I could be wrong. Yeah, I'm right more than I'm wrong, but I don't know if he's currently on a bender or if he's going to be on a bender. Uh, but certainly, I think there's drug use in his past. I don't think that's really disputed. You can certainly easily find tapes of him with his bloodshot eyes and acting manic, as if he were using some sort of stimulant. I worry this is going to happen again in the sense of I mean, it's not good for anybody to go through that, but I don't really have much empathy for him. But I think he really has had a horrible life. Um, I think all of the kids actually have had a horrible life. All right, what do we need to know about Don Jr.? Now, I just definitely think he's the first child to go. I don't know why. I don't think he lives to be very old. I don't know if this is related to that. I don't think that happens soon. I've just always had this image of all of the kids gathered at his funeral, and Ivanka's still quite young looking, although, there are definitely ways to keep yourself young looking, I guess, these days. I don't think she's very old. Yeah. He's had a pretty hard life. Not that that excuses his behavior, because a lot of it's self-induced, but, uh, you know, drugs and alcohol are no joke for a lot of people. I'm just seeing the Five of Cups in the water, which is about loss. Makes me think that this happens after the felon goes, but I think they all kind of know that it's about to happen. So, or at least they have a sense and intuition, whether they listen to it or not, that's their business, I guess. I get the Ace of Wands, new leadership. Maybe that's the idea is that when the felon goes, he, feels like he's now got more responsibility. I don't think that's actually true. I don't think um, he'll have more or less. I think he'll be about the same. Definitely some addictions in the past. The devil, of course, is about addictions, being in bondage, enslavement, beholden to. Here's the Five of Cups. Yeah, it was seen in the scrying bowl, which is about loss. I do wonder if this isn't the way that he exits the planet. It's like it's a temptation. It's like being handed something that's he can't say no to because it's an addiction, right? It's an addiction. I don't think this is like casual use. This isn't somebody that has a glass of wine on Fridays. It's not that. There's nothing wrong with that. This is somebody who can't have just a glass of wine. Yeah, the Seven of Cups is also a substance abuse type card with the illusion and delusions. No, and we get death as well. Um, it's a couple things are possible here, I guess. Um, one, maybe this is the way things end for him, but also maybe this is the end of the dark cycle and he gets clean and lives a more reasonable life. I don't think that's what happens, by the way, not the latter. Um, not from what I've seen. Not that he dies of an overdose or anything like that, but it's probably not a very long life. The Page of Pentacles, again, just being handed things he can't say no to. Like it's part of that addictive behavior. Again, another offering here. Um, and having a whole bunch, the Nine of Pentacles, having you know pretty much whatever he wants. So I think he feels pressure. I think he feels stress. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying what I'm seeing. I think this is part of the reason why he turns to these substances and he has easy access to them. I think he's actually offered them on a regular basis, and eventually this leads to some sort of loss, whether it's loss of freedom because of, jail, that could be, probably not. It could be. Um, Definitely, I think, again, this tarot reading, I could be right, I could be wrong. I definitely think he's an addict. He just can't say no to the offers. Unfortunately, I kind of do think that is his demise. I don't think it's soon, but it could be, drug addiction's no joke. That's for sure. So underneath, yeah, giving and receiving, seeds being planted, I mean, more pentacles, which are things of value, which in this case I'm taking to be substances. So yeah, that's a tough energy for sure. All right, so is Ivanka currently planning the felons here? The imagery was so bizarre. It's like, okay, here's Ivanka, and I could tell it was her because she has this like odd perfumey smell. Like it's not super strong, but you can tell she's wearing perfume. Um, and it's like inside her head, just going through images after images of how she wanted things to be presented and done. But it was so emotionless. It was almost borderline cold. Um, and I think there are reasons for that that we'll find out later. I think she actually, um, I think she goes pretty quiet. I don't think she goes back into the public eye or anything, but I think, her story gets told at some point. So what do we need to know about Ivanka and this planning of this funeral? About Ivanka. The Queen of Cups, but it's like it's upside down. And I don't read reverse cards because I just find it not to be as accurate personally. It's fine if you do. I just don't. Because Queen of Cups is about empathy, so I guess if it's reversed, it's like that coldness, that lack of empathy here. So definitely a big burden to bear, although I don't think that she's actually going to be the one in charge. I think she just thinks she is. Or maybe this is a private ceremony for that's not for the public. That could be as well. Uh, yeah, the Five of Pentacles loss, and the Sun card. I think that's why she's so cold, is because she really can't say anything nice. Like go back and look at her convention speeches. They weren't anything special. Nobody remembers them. Um, the Seven of Cups, illusion and delusion. Of course, the Four of Swords, illness. Just confirmation we're reading on the right thing, and the kind of casket-like representation here with the this is the before tarot. No, this is the after tarot. I'm sorry. Um, not the before tarot. The stained glass windows are open here. So it's kind of like it hasn't happened as being planned. It's an even better representation. And we get judgment, which there'll be lots of that. And again, just more of a death representation. This is before the horn is blown that wakes the dead. So, uh, and the devil, I think she's going to be quite cold here. I don't think that she has particularly affectionate feelings towards her father. I think she kind of finds him disgusting, I guess is the right word here. Uh, yeah, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Um, yeah, I think she's always felt beholden and enslaved by, like, she never could escape the name. I think in the beginning that probably was, exciting, but uh, after she gets to her 40s, it's no longer exciting. We get the moon card, this volatility. I think there's a gambit of emotions. I think it's tough when somebody passes that you have unresolved issues with. It's a weird. If you've ever experienced it, it's a weird thing. And we get justice. Uh, yeah, so I think this is a lot of burdens for her to plan, and I think she'll try to make it balanced. I have a feeling this is just for the family. Um, I don't think she particularly likes her father, but she'll do her best to make it seem like she does. There's definitely loss and judgment, a gambit of emotions. In fact, emotions that she probably won't even have words for. That's not very unusual, to be honest with you, when people experience a loss of a parent. The Ten of Swords, complete utter downfall. I think that's just a death representation, and she'll have everything that she needs, but she can't escape the fact that her father was a liar and a cheat. The Seven of Swords. So, um, yeah. All right. Thank you for watching. I'll be back with another video soon.